Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I am Sarah Martin with The Contoured Chemist. So today we're gonna do a little part 2. After last week, we talked about lightweight, summer proof, humidity proof makeup. And this time we're gonna use Seint as our main complexion, but I'm gonna show you. You can also use cream makeup in the summer. So many of my clients, Seint is their holy grail foundation they've been looking for forever, and now that they found it, they don't want to swap out anything in the summer. So all you have to know is a few key things to make it work for you, and we're going to be doing that today. I'm going to share some of my favorite products to pair with Seint and what I would do for a fast summer Seint face. So if you want to check it out, please keep watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and thanks for being here. Okay, friends, not only is it almost the end of July, it is also almost the end of the summer warehouse sale, and things are going to be leaving the website forever on the 31st. So I did a quick glance at what's left, and I am going to show you guys, because I will be honest, I'm kind of shocked that some of my all-time favorite shades are still available and not sold out yet. So we're gonna do a quick summer Seint face and use a few of the things, just a few, that I feel like are must-haves that I am gonna be really sad I'm not gonna be able to reach for on the daily basis of doing tutorials for y'all, because they're gonna be gone August 1st. Heads up if you have not shopped that sale yet. There are a lot of last chance items on there. So first things first, I did last week summer swaps. If you are a cream makeup girly through and through, you do not have to swap out your Seint in the summer. I'm gonna share a few of my favorite things you can pair with it to make it work for you. In my opinion, it's all about how you prep your skin and how you set your makeup to whether it's going to work for you if you live in a very humid, hot state like I do. I also am very lazy in the summer, I will be honest. And so I'm gonna show you one of the quickest ways that I like to put on my Seint when I'm in a hurry, which is today. So let's get started. I'm gonna go into depth on primers because you guys probably understand my stance on them by now. But real quick, the ones, if I had to pick, all silicone-free options for under Seint. You need something silicone-free so Seint doesn't slip and slide. So first of all, I've talked about this brand so much. This is their only primer. This is the Vive Skin Nova. This is the only one that's silicone free. This one is more of like a gel. It's really lightweight and it gives a glow to the skin. I feel like any skin can use this. I would recommend this one if you are dry, okay? Mature skin, dry skin, you need a little bit of glow, but you don't like glitter. Like this is just a very natural, one of the most natural glowing primers I've ever used in my life. Not necessarily super tacky, just very hydrating. On the flip side, you want glow, you need some radiance to your skin, but you're looking for tack and the best longevity type primer, I would for sure go with the Milk Hydro Grip. You can get the glowy one. I prefer the glowy one. The glowy one's my favorite. It's not too glowy. The original one also gives tack, meaning it will help the makeup adhere to your skin and therefore increasing longevity, especially as it's hot and humid. This one gives a glow, probably a little bit more so than the Skin Nova, depending on how much you're using. If you don't like certain places on your face emphasized, like pores, just avoid those areas. I would recommend something like this if pores are an issue. So both of these are really good. This is the Yummy Skin, the water powder serum that I talked about last week. This is the most lightweight. This is the best for just a little bit of hydration, a little bit of pore blurring. And this one, it also comes in just a tube. This is the Milk Pore Eclipse line. You can get the stick for really easy application or the cream. I recommend something like this. This is like an oil blocking primer. There's not a lot on the market that are silicone makeup to silicone free really well, and so I highly recommend that line. This is a little travel size, so you can like try it before you buy a full size. I highly recommend this for oily skin, only where you're oily, okay? Skin prep is key. And as always, find a sunscreen that works for your skin type. You might get really lucky if you just need like the same canvas everywhere and don't need some things and not in other places of your face. If you do, if you're one of those people that is oily in your T-zone, dry in your cheeks, treat every quadrant of your face with what it needs. And that is always gonna give you the best longevity, no matter the makeup you're using. Once your skin is prepped, I say step number one, if you are a cream makeup girl, is making sure you are applying a very light hand. The heavier your application is with Seint or any cream makeup, the higher your chances of it feeling like it's going to melt off your face. So just like with last week, think thin layers, which is always how I apply my makeup, but it's just that much more important in the summer. And with that being said, also making sure you don't have excess on your face that can transfer as you're starting to sweat or, you know, in the heat. I'd say make sure you're using your perfector. This thing is non-negotiable in my opinion, and it's the only way I can get the finish I like, which is very natural, skin-like, with very little product. And this is the only thing that can remove excess. So before I even sit down and start putting on my makeup, I have run this under water, squeezing and releasing many times until it has doubled in size. And then I squeeze it out in a very absorbent towel. I like to use flour sack towels only. Yes, I am that picky, but I'm telling you, it makes the biggest difference. This just becomes my makeup towel, and it's always sitting here because it's the only thing that makes this perfect. So then I'm just gonna sit it out, and the outside of this sponge is going to dry down enough that when I have my makeup on and I need to use this to make sure I'm not gonna get creasing or anything like that, it's not gonna pull off my makeup to where I feel like it's pulling off coverage. I hear that a lot, and that is very easy to avoid when you're prepping your sponge properly. So I've got this prepped, ready to go. Now let's start with our makeup. So first things first is getting a proper color match. Somebody that's gonna actually look at your skin and be able to see what you're looking for, what type of coverage, what type of concerns you're wanting coverage on. All of those things I feel like make or break your color match. If no one's looking at those things or asking you those questions, they're never gonna be able to match you in the way that you wanna wear your makeup, which doesn't make sense to me because it's your face, not mine. And you want your makeup a certain way. Makeup is so personal. So for me, personally, I like a very natural look, but I have a lot of concerns going on that I want to make it look like I have an even canvas. I do not. I have mature skin. I have a lot of fine lines, wrinkles, and I want to make sure my dark spots, my rosacea, redness, broken capillaries, all this unevenness, blemishes, under eyes, purple, blue, have I covered it all? That's about it, but it's all of it, right? So I wanna make sure all of that is evened out and not necessarily covered where it's looking like makeup. I want it to be covered in a way that looks like I just have flawless skin. It's not too much to ask, right? So here's where we're gonna get that. First things first, we're gonna talk about color correction. Now, not everybody matches to a color corrector. I find it's the only way I can wear this makeup and get the look I want. So for me, that's the way I'm gonna teach. It's the only way that works for me. So it's a little bit different because you do wanna make sure you're always applying darkest to lightest as far as our highlight colors go. and they're very deceiving. It's not gonna look like this on my skin. It looks very dark and orange. Now, obviously, if I were to over apply this shade, it would look too dark and too warm for me. So remember what I said? Light, thin layers. Less is more with these creams. So if you've ever seen me apply it, I'm gonna actually apply it a little bit different just for simplicity's sake. I'm gonna take just dots of this, and you'll see, you can't even see it on my skin. Maybe you'll be able to see that a little bit. That's how very little I'm gonna need. I'm gonna put a little bit on there. Okay, this makeup a little goes a long way. I'm gonna then take the blush into the blush and bronzer and just simply buff it out, okay? Buffing motion, small circles, it is what is going to spread that cream and let it warm up on your skin and give a thin layer over that area. Okay, so for me, I'm matching the darkest points of my face first. Yes, I have very reactive skin, so it's looking darker because I touched my face. I'm gonna pick up a smaller brush, and this time I'm gonna dip directly in, and I'm gonna pick up very little. Like when I say very little, you can't really even see it if I go directly. So I'm just barely tapping in. And again, this is something that takes practice, but you'll be able to see the difference once you start using this makeup and learning how much pressure to apply and how to pick it up on the brush. I just want a wash of this color corrector over my eyes. The thinnest possible amount I can apply while looking and seeing that I am evening out that area that I'm applying it to. Okay, this is why I use like very light pressure, so I'm not moving that delicate skin, and I'm just trying to spread it out as evenly as possible just to give that area more of an even tone. Literally no other makeup on the planet can give me the look under my eyes that I want with such little texture as when I go through this process. Yes, it takes me a little bit longer, I feel like, than probably just slapping on one shade of concealer, but that always emphasizes my lines so much more, and it drives me crazy. After wearing this makeup for this many years, I can't stand when anything I use makes me look older. That is literally the opposite of why I would wear makeup. Okay, now I'm gonna come back to that shade because I'm gonna do something a little bit different. I'm going to do the hack where I use it doesn't matter what kind you have, as long as it's not like an exfoliating milky toner, any hydrating milky toner. We're gonna use this to thin out your highlight. I normally use Mango as my color corrector. Sandy is my main shade. There is a color between those two, so this doesn't always work for everybody. I will be honest, it depends on how much contrast you have in your face. If you're using Mango to correct and you are way lighter and there's not a shade in between that can do this, you might not be able to use this technique, or you might be able to try it with your normal mane and then add bronzer to see if it gives you enough coverage and color. But I'm just gonna use a little bit of Hazel, okay? This shade is in between the two. It does not color correct like Mango can. It's a little bit darker than Sandy, but it's also a little bit warmer than Sandy. So I'm gonna take that with just like a drop or two, because I've tried this before and used way too much. Okay, and then I'm just going to Now, this technique works better if you don't have to color correct at all, obviously, because I don't really want to mix. So where I already color corrected, I'm going to press on, and where I haven't, I can buff and get a really thin layer, but this will give you the lightest, because you are essentially thinning out the formula, and glowiest, like natural. Can you tell the difference in just this side of my face compared to this side? The only thing is it's not a perfect science, and sometimes I feel like, okay, I need to go in with some more. It takes a little bit of trial and error to see how much you like, how much you might need for coverage. And you don't necessarily have to do your full face like this, just where maybe you want a nice thin glowy base. Remember, anywhere you buff it on, it's going to move your color corrector. So you want to just use it where you want the most natural coverage. Or if you don't have color corrector, you can buff it on for more natural coverage or press it on where you want more coverage. Does that make sense? Buffing will always thin out the coverage you're getting. So pretty. I love this technique because you can easily tap in and say you just need a little bit more coverage, and you're like, okay, you need to build up coverage just in one area. It's really easy just to tap in and press on more just in one spot, which I feel like is harder to do if you're using a skin tint or something like that, because these are just so pigmented. You just need very, very small amounts. Now I'm gonna go back in with my color corrector just to add a little bit more coverage on specific spots. And then I like a little bit more coverage under my eyes, so I'm gonna go back into Hazel without any toner, obviously, and just press on a little bit more under the eyes. Just even it out a touch more. So it all comes down to personal preference, how much coverage you want, how much time you want to take, how picky you are. I mean, like I said, personal preference. So as long as you color correct first, if you use your main shade and say it's just a little bit too light, here's where you can adjust, add some warmth back to your face. I'm not even gonna contour today. We're gonna stick with bronzers because, I mean, it's summer, right? I have a brand new Bella and a Xanadu. I like to mix the two. You can mix a Bella and Glow. I'm actually gonna flip it around to the more dense side so that I can really build up the amount. Bella to me is very sheer and it dries out in the 10 pretty easily, so I feel like you can easily buff it all over or press it just where you want it. Xanadu is even more sheer, so I'm gonna get like a good base of Bella down first. And I'm gonna use Xanadu with the large end to just add a little bit of glow. Xanadu is way more sheer since it's mixed with that glow illuminator. So if you don't like glowy, skip it, but I literally can't leave the house without a little bit in the summer. So for a quick summer face, I'll be honest, I don't ever brighten. So it's already time to use that perfector. And here's where we make sure we have no creasing and we can make sure we don't have any lines that need blurring. Now, if you feel like you got a little too heavy-handed, full face. This is the only time it will kind of remove excess, and you just want to pounce. So I focus around the eyes since that's my problem area. And I always do it before blush because that tends to really pick up our blushes. So now I'm gonna go in with the powder brush, which is leaving us. I still don't know what I'm gonna use in place of this. And I'm just going to touch the powder and set my under eye. Now, this is what I recommend for any mature skin. If you get creasing under your eye, use a lightweight powder, controlled amount, control application. Like, I know the exact amount that doesn't emphasize texture, but blurs just enough. And I know if I just press on our vanilla dust, I steer clear of the feather blotting dust. It's too shimmery for under the eyes. If you have mature skin, just don't even try it. And that's enough that my eyes have never creased because I removed excess. I used a light hand, just enough for coverage, and then I can set it in place. Now I'm gonna take a swipe of it because I have very oily eyelids. I'm gonna really pack on the powder so that I'm ready for an eyeshadow. And then I'm just gonna take whatever's left over down the center of my face. Now, I have normal skin, so I don't necessarily like a full face of powder. But if I'm gonna be going outside, if you have oily skin, vanilla dust is for touch-ups, get a loose powder. There's so many great ones on the market. Mario Surreal Skin is my favorite, and you would powder everywhere. I avoid under the eyes with that one. I would still use vanilla dust under the eyes because I have texture there, but everywhere else. Now, if you feel like you put on your makeup and you can feel it, like right now, mine just feels like skin. I just feel like my skin feels hydrated, and that's cool with me. Like if I feel sticky or tacky, then I would amp this up big time. I'd make sure I use this all over more until I no longer have that tack feeling. And then I would do the sandwich method of powder, setting spray, powder, okay? So I went ahead and just powdered just my T-zone. That's typically what I do. And after I finish my full face, I'll show you the rest of the sandwich technique because I don't even have blush on yet. And you definitely want to set that in place. So let's go ahead and go in with blush. Now, we have so many fantastic blushes. There are satins, there are semi-gloss, there are glosses. I always recommend people try each formulation because you don't know what you like until you try it. Now, I have a lot of people who love the glosses but don't like the feeling. That's when I usually say try something matte under it, and then you can just use a touch of that gloss for the color and the glow, but you won't feel it on your face. Some people in the summer just don't want to feel it at all. I totally get it. So you can stick with the satins, or my go-to, especially if you have any issues with longevity of our blushes, is most certainly these. They've become my new liquid blush. These are the Seint lip tints, and I believe everybody needs the shade Jam in their life. To me, this looks really scary because it looks so dark, but let me just show you. I love this for just adding a little bit of depth to whatever blush tone you like. Doesn't matter. This is definitely gonna be my jam in the fall, no pun intended. I'm just gonna put a little bit, and this one is very pigmented. If you've ever used other liquid blushes. I mean, 2-3 dots max, and you have a great base. And I find these to have the best staying power, okay? But then they layer so well. So you can add that as a base, so that way your blush is not gonna fade. It's gonna be there all day. And this is almost like bronzer for me. It just gives a little bit of depth, but I mean, I really love blush, so I like to layer then with more colors so that I can get a new look every day. But is that not pretty? Very natural, not so scary, and it will dry down, set, and give you that stain-like effect on your cheeks. So, because I'm still in shock, my 2 favorite lip and cheeks are still available. I'm gonna show them again because you guys need to realize these are 2 of the best shades of all time. And one is Love Spell, which would look glorious over this because it's about the same tone. It's so similar in tone. It's like, oh, we don't have anything else like it. I'm pretty sure it's sold out in Canada, but I know it's not in the US. But this is the color, see? So similar. And it just gives this beautiful, like warm glow to the skin. It's got a little bit of shimmer, but not scary shimmer. And the fact that it's just like, oh, it would layer perfectly over this so that it's not gonna go anywhere. Because that's the only thing, it's the only caveat with our glosses is that some people have issues with them lasting, especially in the heat. So I'm gonna use just one little touch of Love Spell. So you can kind of see how it builds up color-wise. And it's like the perfect glowy, warm tone. I mean, it was always my go-to in the fall, but if you haven't noticed, these tones are very in this summer as well. Like, I feel like I don't need anything else, even though I was really planning on putting on Tiger Lily. So I think I'm gonna leave my cheeks like that. And it's like glorious. I'm so obsessed. I cannot believe that shade is still available. I'm just gonna use a little bit of Glow. That I keep saying Glow, Nova, and the Perfector. Not that I need it with that blush, but just a little bit on the high cheekbones. Now we can set our face. When it comes to setting spray, if you're looking for something that's going to increase the longevity, you want to look for film formers. And I do have a video coming. I will be honest, I have a lot of setting sprays I really like. So based on skin type, fun fact, our setting sprays from Seint do not have film formers, meaning they do not have a polymer that's going to hold the makeup on your face. So here is my lineup for normal, just all around great setting sprays that you can get at Sephora, Fenty's newest one, You Mist, and the Charlotte Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray. Both of these film formers, both of them will also kind of melt that powder at the same time. Have dewy finish. You want glowy skin, or matte finish. You want as close to matte as possible. I do feel like with any setting spray, your best bet of getting matte is the powder you choose after. But this is more oil control, this is more hydration, glassy skin in a bottle. So we have one size, the new powder melt glass setting spray, and then the Milk Pore Eclipse, the one I showed you guys last week, the matte setting spray. Both film formers to hold your makeup in all day. And then we have the aerosol, I call hairspray for the face. These are by far the longest wearing mattifying sprays ever. They're more like waterproofing fixing sprays, okay? So high end, I don't use this very often, which is why I have the travel size. You can try it first. Or L'Oreal drugstore, amazing. One Size also just released their sunscreen version. never use this as your sole sunscreen, but if you really have a full beat of makeup and you know you're gonna be outside, say like at a wedding, I would definitely grab this one for the sunscreen part over this one. And I know it's gonna lock my makeup in and give me a little added protection if you need it. I don't really need like glowy or matte, so I'm gonna use this Fenty. It's great, it's fragrance free. It's a great option if you don't do fragrance. So now we're gonna melt that powder and give it to the sandwich. And it has a very fine mist as well. Like I said, no scent. It also dries down pretty fast. I will say any setting spray, in order for those film formers to work, like I said, you have to spray enough. 2 sprays isn't gonna do it. You almost have to drench your face in it, okay? So we're gonna let that dry down while I do my brows. Now that that's dried down, here's where we can powder again, okay? The last part of our sandwich. Because vanilla dust is so lightweight, I feel like it's a great kind of in between. It's technically a setting powder, but it's not a heavy setting powder. I feel like it works really well as a finishing powder as well. So you can just go over those areas that you would normally powder with a more fluffy brush. This is the blend brush, just to make sure, you know, you don't necessarily have to press it into the skin as much now, unless you're oily. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and grab this palette. Hourglass is now allowing you to customize the ambient lighting shades into your own quad. So if you've ever seen holiday edits every year, like this is my Evil Eye palette, these are really great finishing powder. So they have their own finishing powder that you could use as your last step. And it has a little bit of glow in it. It does not look shimmery or anything like that. My Evil Eye has the finishing powder in it. I'm gonna just use vanilla dust for my finishing powder. And then I've got 2 bronzers here and 2 blushes. I'm just going to kind of just blend together both of my bronzers. And then this is gonna be how I set. So any bronzer will do. These are just a little bit glowier. So if you've ever used any of Hourglass stuff, I mean, it's pricey, but it's beautiful. Say my only caveat about this palette is 1, picking between all the options, knowing which shades to pick, and 2, finding a brush that fits. So I had to literally buy the Hourglass brush because so many of the brushes are just too big for a palette like this. I will say the blend and the shape brush do fit really well inside these if you're looking for something like that. It's very comparable in size. So same thing, I'm just gonna take a little bit of the blush to set that in place. You don't have to, but if you want to keep the glow that you get from a cream blush, but you don't want to feel it, top it with a glowy powder. Does that make sense? These are really beautiful. And I went through the eyeshadows, and let's do a quick eyeshadow look with literally, these 2 are still available. Don't ask me how. So we're just gonna do a real quick 2 eyeshadow look from the sale. Is over when you're watching this, and these shades are gone permanently. A good replacement would be Zion, which is slightly lighter than this. This is Holly. This is gonna be our number 4 crease shade. And then a good replacement for Foxy would be Hot Chocolate. So we're just gonna take Holly in the crease. And then Foxy, let me do a quick swatch. Holly and Foxy. Foxy on the lid. such an easy eye. I'm honestly debating if I need liner, and I'm pretty sure some of these shades were still available. Yeah, so Spell is still left, and my favorite of all time, Fen. So sad. Okay, I'm gonna just take the etch brush and Spell and run it along the upper lash line for a little definition. Yeah, way better. Okay, let's just finish up the lips. I'm gonna wipe off whatever's remaining of the lip whip. Oof, what shade should we use? Should we stick with Jam or should we use something else? Let's just try it. Okay, I'm gonna show you guys on the lips how I wear it, which is usually like that, and then I shear it out. So you can use it to kind of line. I keep this one in my car at all times. Because it will stain. But my lips really need definition, so. That's the end. To kind of line it out, give me a nice base. And I'm doing it. I'm going in with Tiger Lily. This shade did not get the love it deserves. Touch it. And then just use it for pigment. And then Sunshine State. Or you could use even one of the lip oils, but Sunshine State just works with everything. Okay, and there we go. There's the final look with mostly all Seint. Nice, glowy summer. Can't feel it on my skin. Don't feel like it's gonna sweat off. And it's gonna give me all day wear, which is what we want from our makeup, right? Quick and easy eye. And a few things from the last chance sale. If you've missed it, be sure to snag them while you still can. If you're needing help with your Seint foundation, whether you're looking to do the milky toner trick or you're just having issues with longevity or coverage, especially when using much less product, you might be color meshed too late, because if you can't use very, very little product to get coverage, you don't have the right shades. You should be able to use the least amount possible. I will attach my color match questionnaire in the drop box below the video, as well as the pinned comment, so that I can help you get set up with what you need for the look you want. And if you have any questions over this look, just let me know in the comments below. As always, thank you guys so much for being here and watching. I'll see you next week. Love you.